Welcome to the Last Beer Show. Welcome, everybody, to the Last Beer Show.
Last Beer Show. Not the first beer show, it's the Last Beer Show.
What's up, Jason?
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good. Sorry, we owe everyone an apology. I'm sorry we're late.
Sorry we're late.
A couple of weeks.
Not in mind.
We had a lot going on, and we couldn't get it together, and
both of us have moved.
Yeah.
Like literally moved.
Literally.
Like all our belongings.
Yeah.
We moved. I now live in Seattle.
I have a lot of
boxes.
boxes.
In Portland, Maine.
I'm going to sell all my boxes. I got a lot of boxes left over from the move.
There's not a box second market, black market for boxes.
I think it's called Craigslist.
Yeah?
Yeah. Anyway.
I don't think you get much money for them. And then you have people that are like, oh, you're offering them for $20. Would you take 50 cents? We got
something of a special guest. He's not going to chime in a lot, but when he does, I promise it will be amazing. No pressure. Is Mr. Tim Pelletier. Say hi, Tim.
Hi, Tim.
Hello, listeners.
Oh, say hi.
Tim's our audio engineer. He mostly does his work behind the scenes. He's been helping us out. If you've been paying attention and listened to more than 5 minutes, you probably notice that every episode has sounded a little bit better than the one before it. And Tim's really been the one behind that because he is literally an audio engineer. And he heard the first few and said, you got to let me help you, bro.
You need some help.
So, yeah, and we did. And it's really worked out. So thanks, Tim. And so, Jason, are you ready?
I am ready. Let's do this.
So, how was your month?
You know what? It's been a crazy month. I'll be honest.
You always say that.
It has been a crazy month. First off, the weather's been ridiculously crazy. So it's went from 80 degrees to snowed last week, and then of course, both I and you moved physically. We moved our homes and our families to different locations, and so there was all of that, and there's just it's been a lot going on.
Yeah, it's been pretty bananas. Tell me what you've had to drink in the last few weeks.
Oh, holy
do share.
Smokes.
And because we always cover your beer travel, and I know everyone's always riveted to hear stories and tales of your beer travel, and I know that you've got a tale to tell, but just what have you had recently that you recall?
So 3 weeks ago, when we were moving from our old location, as you know, we have a Monday bottle share every Monday.
Every Monday, your house.
Every Monday, my house. Usually we have between 15 to 25 people. And so we had one last...
Jason D and the place to be.
Yep, we had one last Monday night share at our old location. And we had about, I think, probably 25 to 30 people come out. And we conquered 95 bottles and cans of beer. So 95. So we did some work that night. And honestly,
so did Uber.
Yes, so did Uber. Everyone that lived around us was like, "What is this flash rate?"
You knew you were moving. You didn't care
around here. They're
you didn't care how many people came. You knew you're moving out. You didn't even like the people on the condo association.
Exactly. Screw those people. So
nice.
So we did a lot of bottles and cans, and we had a lot of really amazing stuff, and a lot of people brought some really fun stuff from, J. Wakefield dark beer. I'm trying to remember all the different things that we had because as you can imagine, a night like that gets a little fuzzy.
That's a lot of bottles. Well, you can't remember which one you tried in which order, because once you've had little samples of even 15 or 20 things, you're like, whoa, this is getting out of control. You can't even track it all.
No, I don't remember. But I do remember that we drank some really, really good beers. And then as luck may have it, 2 weeks later we had our intro to Monday night shares at our new house here. And while we only did 75 bottles and cans, we also did an 8 or 9 bottle Bottle Logic lineup of some really cool Bottle Logic beers. If you haven't had those, they're out of California, I think the San Diego area, and they make these really cool beers like Fundamental Observation, Fundamental Summation, which is probably right now is probably my all-time favorite beer. And it is coconut. It's a stout with coconut and coffee. I think it has, coconut and coffee. And this one has Jamaican Blue Mountain beans. It's a really amazing stout though. It's perfectly balanced. It's kind of hard to pull that off. And so we had that, and then and then 70-ish other bottles and cans, included a bunch of really fun stuff from a lot of local breweries and a lot of national breweries, and I don't really remember much about those either. But
at least you're honest.
Those shares get a little fuzzy after 75. After 75, I think I'm just more in it to have fun.
Right.
And so, that was a good way to break in our new place, and then of course last week was Tampa Bay Beer Week, and I went down with about 5 or 6 of my immediate friends, and then met up with probably 20 or so other Atlantans down there.
It's a big posse.
It was a big posse. Atlanta rolled really deep in Tampa for Tampa Bay Beer Week. And so, a lot of people think when they think of Tampa Bay Beer Week, they think of Cigar City's Hunahpu's Day, but there's so much that happens throughout the whole week that is not Cigar City, that it's really easy to forget that there's all these other breweries that are putting out beers and releasing things all week long. And so you're literally just going from brewery to brewery to brewery to brewery for release to release to release to release.
Which breweries? Well, Hunahpu's Day, but which breweries did you go
to? Cycle Brewing, which is in St. Petersburg, and then Green Bench is there. And then Arcane is there, and Seventh Son is there, and Angry Chair is there, and Cigar City is there, of course.
Didn't Cycle just have an issue with people lining up for a new release?
That was Angry Chair.
It was Angry Chair. That's what it was.
That was Angry Chair.
Because they're kind of in like a residential neighborhood, and the neighborhood was like, what is going on? All these people lining up.
Yeah, I mean, and now after having gone to Angry Chair, I wouldn't say it's a residential area. I mean, everything that lines the street are businesses.
Okay.
So now that I've gone there, I think it was kind of blown out of proportion a little bit. But I will say that I had friends that were in that line and friends that got there at like 1 a.m. and waited, and it wasn't as crazy as they made it out. I will say that some of that stuff was true. That some people did pay people to wait in line. Some people paid to some would say homeless folks in that area to wait for them.
That's one way to do it.
And there is Paste. Obviously, you read Jim Varell's article on Paste about that was the worst kind of beer nerds, beer geeks there was, and that is an opinion, right? A lot of people have different opinions. For different people that there are people that pay for iPhones, the exact same thing. There are people that pay people to wait in line for iPhones.
Right.
And, an iPhone is different than a craft beer, but is it to that person? Who knows?
Well, I don't know. But I think there have been stories about like South by Southwest, similar issues with like companies doing things with, underprivileged people who are, maybe homeless or have different challenges, and they put different signs on them, or they make them ads, or they make them carry around Wi-Fi hotspots and stuff like that.
They didn't do any of that kind of stuff. And Angry Chair actually went online on their social media and basically said like, "Hey, we never ask anybody to stand up and get in line that early. We don't even like it, honestly. We like that people that appreciate our beers that right. much, but we didn't ask for any of this." And they basically said like, "Hey, we don't like it either." They went as far as to say that without actually saying that. Like, hey, we get it. It sucks. And if you've read Angry Chair's social media this week, throughout the course of the week, there were a lot of changes. And some of the changes happened because Cycle does a week-long release for Tampa Bay Beer Week, and they release a bottle for every day of the week. So they release Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and a Sunday bottle, as well as a festival-only bottle for their Cycle barrel-aged day. Now, what happened was a lot of people were counting on people to go to Cycle, which is in St. Petersburg. Angry Chair is in Tampa, and a lot of people were counting on a lot of these people to go to Cycle and not be in line at Angry Chair. But just before the event, Cycle realized that some of their bottles were infected. Some of their weak bottles were infected, so
right.
They pulled them all.
They shut it down, right?
They completely shut it down. I think it was the Monday bottle. And now all of a sudden you had all these people that were going to be going to Cycle for this release that weren't going to that release, and now they were all going to be going to Angry Chair. So what you saw was a domino effect of breweries changing their plans all week long for Tampa Beer Week, which messed up a lot of people and it changed a lot of things, but that made it a little bit more chaotic from a perspective of beer folks trying to figure out where to go, and a lot of people ended up at Angry Chair, which made that line even longer, and it made the demand for that beer even more.
Well, it's such a condensed time frame.
Yeah,
it's like a week-long event.
Yeah, and it's a condensed
they don't have
too.
They don't have the benefit like what a lot of breweries who have a high demand product line have done is like not announced the beer. Like it's just in 10 minutes we're going to start selling this.
Yeah, Westbrook does that.
Yeah, Trillium, a couple of breweries do that. So they don't give any advance notice so that people won't line up because maybe the community isn't crazy about the lines.
Right.
So they don't have the benefit of being able to do that because people know that you're going to release something every day. Regardless of what time it's going to be, they're just going to show up and wait anyway, right?
Yeah. And ultimately, I mean, obviously they want to sell beer, right? And, letting people know in advance when they have to drive 30 minutes over to St. Petersburg from Tampa.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue the hype is a bad thing because it's not. It's a good thing. It's good for their brand. It's good for the perception of the quality of their product. And ultimately, they'll benefit from this, even if it really sucked for the community and the people who stood in line and to be there that day. Maybe it didn't work out so well. In the long run, it's probably a net positive.
I will say that for a lot of those people, and I'm not one of those people, although I certainly have sold bottles on the secondary market before, and I'm not judging anyone for doing that.
Some people judge you.
I don't care. It doesn't matter. But what I will say is a lot of people were thinking in their head they saw dollar signs because those Angry Chair bottles go for anywhere for $600 plus.
Oh wow!
And so when a bottle of beer goes for $600 on the secondary market,
people lining up.
You'll wait in line for 8 hours.
Oh yeah, because you can buy 3 of them.
So there were in that line, I would venture that there was a broad mixture of people who saw the dollar signs, some that genuinely were in it for the fun of it, like my friends. They were like, you know what? Like I actually just like the camaraderie. I'm going to experience it. This is a lot of fun for me. They didn't really care as much about the $600 value. And then there were people that were kind of, that were just there for the hype. I would imagine that there was a broad spectrum of those people that were in that Angry Chair line. And, Jim Varell covered one small part of it. A lot of people felt like his coverage of that event was really unfair. I actually had someone from the local newspaper message me on Facebook. And I have no idea how this guy even connected with me, but he messaged me on Facebook to say, "Hey, I'm a reporter with the St. Petersburg, whatever it was," and he said, "I've heard reports of people paying people to wait in line at this Angry Chair release. Can you confirm it? Do you know anybody that was there and can confirm it?" And they wanted to make this a much bigger story, right? And I told him I wasn't there, so I didn't see it personally. You didn't
wait in line if I wasn't.
I didn't wait in line. I was actually in bed until 10:30 that morning. So I said,
"Nice."
I wasn't there.
Life of luxury.
Yeah, exactly. Meanwhile, my friends were in line getting the beer, but I told him that I wasn't even there. But I will tell you that again, there were news sources that wanted to make a much bigger issue out of that whole Angry Chair thing.
Right.
But
okay.
So yeah, it was an interesting week.
It's a good trip. Sounds like a fun trip.
It was a fun trip, and Hunahpu's Day is an amazing event. And if you can go, you really should go because it literally showcases some of the best breweries in the country.
Some of the best breweries in the country.
Gotcha. Hooters Brew Pub.
All the best. All the best breweries.
Tilted Kilt Brewing.
Ooh.
All of the brew pubs.
Wow.
Breast pubs.
All class.
Yeah, so a lot of the best breweries and brew pubs in the country, including a lot of our own local folks here from Atlanta, but even folks like Modern Times and people like Toppling Goliath were there.
It's a good festival. A lot of people, breweries from all over the country go.
All over the country, yeah.
So this one probably won't run as long as some of the others, which is probably really good because it's late and we want to get the people something, right? All 2 of them.
You got to be starting something. You got to be starting
but
something.
I kind of was thinking, spring is like the de facto start of the beer season, right? It's when the trendy beers start to drop. You kind of figure out what kind of things are going to be happening this spring and summer, what we're going to be drinking, what they're going to be canning. And so I thought we'd start the season off with a little bit of sharing. And I never really heard a podcast do this, so I thought it'd be a good opportunity is to recommend other podcasts you should be listening to and people you can follow or people that we follow on social media that we get our news from, or we like their tone, or we like their voice, we like what they're sharing and their ideas and thoughts on the industry and the product as a whole. And I thought it'd be good to just kind of share good vibes, give away, the blogs, the writers, the social media stuff, and the podcasts that we like to consume and listen to.
So that's a great idea. Do you mind if we start with what we've been drinking before we get into that? Because we should thank those folks too.
I do not mind.
Actually. So, Tim, tell us about the first beer that we started out with. I think you brought this.
The Soft J?
Red Hare Brewing is in Atlanta.
The Red Hare Soft J, yeah, they're a local Atlanta area brewery. And it's a New England style or juicy, hazy IPAs.
Yeah.
Folks call them. I think it's a
really good,
it's a pretty good example for where we live down here in the Atlanta area.
I would say it's crushable. And when summer comes, you won't hate having it.
Yeah.
Around.
Yeah, Red Hare is a brewery just north of Atlanta, for those who don't know. And it's definitely their first take on a Northeast style hazy IPA. And it's pretty cool to see more and more of these beers in our area because they're not as commonplace. So for sure.
Yeah, and I know they're trendy, but I like that local breweries are making these because I think other things creatively are going to spawn from it in each brewery. Like they're going to make one, and it's going to be popular for that month, right, when it drops. And then they're going to say, "Oh, I get it. Now we can do it this way. We can add this, we can do this, and tweak. And then ultimately, I hope that all of these trendy recipes turn into creative endeavor that's individualized in each brewery. Like it seems like it's an opportunity there to say, oh, what if we did it this way and did that way? And so I'm looking forward to what happens, like say a year from now, once they've done a few of them.
Yeah.
Like I think something cool comes out of it.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
I think for me, what I've seen is a lot of the breweries that are doing this are experimenting, right? Because they're not making beers that they have commonly made.
Right.
And so for them, experimenting and learning more about different yeast strains. I know that for the brewery that I work for, it's been really fun seeing our brewmaster playing with a lot of different water styles.
Yeah.
Oh, which is really big, obviously, in New England IPAs. It's the water chemistry, and so our brewmaster, head brewer, has been working a lot around water chemistry.
He's like, I got new gypsum salts.
Yeah, literally, and so I think that experimentation is only going to be good long term because it will help educate a lot of other different styles.
Unlike a brewery like, say, the Vale, who's made a lot of these,
yes,
right?
They've
been at this style for a while. They're veteran at it, and we were just crushing. Can I say that, or is that pretentious?
Yeah, you can say that.
Okay, so the Master Shredder from the Vale, it's a wheat India Pale Ale, weighing in at just 5.5.
5.5, and
it was really good. Actually, it was really good. It had a sweetness to it.
Yeah, it's a wheat IPA, which you don't really see a lot of, and the one that most people have heard of more than Master Shredder is Master Shredder, which is a double version of that.
The double IPA.
But this is still the single. This is the first time I've had the single version, and it's still, like you said, crushable. It's a really, really good crushable
You just
beer.
work on it and, have a couple. It's not quite down in session ballpark, but it's bordering, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And then you got, we did Orpheus, a popular Atlanta brewery that has a really, really solid wild ale and sour game.
Yes, they have.
And the Over and Over is a pineapple sour, which is it's cool getting like the acidity.
Yep.
Like it's kind of a neat, not so much mouthfeel, but you definitely pick up the acidity on the palate and you're like, whoa, this is really active. It's really live.
Yeah, I love what those Orpheus guys do. They one of the first cool ships in the Southeast, and they're working on a new beer right now, which is a cool shit beer with raspberries. They do a lot of really cool styles and stuff that weren't really being done a lot.
Their first beer was a sour.
Yeah, their first beer was a sour. Yeah,
their flagship beer is a wild ale.
I think was their first beer Atalanta.
It's a plum.
Yeah, which is a plum sour.
Yeah, not a lot of plum in it, but it has a cool pink color to it. It's really kind of neat.
Yeah, they so Orpheus, this pineapple sour ale. It's the first time I've seen a pineapple sour ale like this, which is just
it's good. It's real
super refreshing. Yeah,
super
I was gonna
refreshing.
Say, great in the summer. I could definitely pound some of these.
And it's only 4%.
Yep, 4%.
So this is session ballpark.
Yep,
this is sessionable. You would bring a 6-pack of these to a barbecue, have a nice time, and not get sideways.
Yeah, 6 or 60 of them. Yeah.
Tim might get sideways.
Good job to Jason Pellet and his team at Orpheus.
All right, so Jason.
Yes.
I want to start with social media because I think it's kind of like it's sort of the entry point for a lot of the types of content now.
Yep.
Be it blogs and they're the writers that we like and the blogs that you like to read, the magazines, like even the popular ones like Draft and Beer Connoisseur, Beer Advocate. All of them have it all drives, their traffic is driven from social media. So The idea would be, let's start there. Let's start with the point. And then we can get more specific about some of the bigger spots, bigger pieces of media. So give me give me a couple. Social media, who do you hope is in your feed the moment you open your Twitter or Facebook or Instagram, whatever, who you're like, oh, pray to the Instagram gods. I'm going to get a post from insert name. Now, Instagram, they're all going to be 3 to 5 days old, but at least is something there for you from someone specific that you like to see something from.
Right. Well, so it's interesting coming from a guy that's literally wearing a sweatshirt that says social media on it.
That's you.
Which is definitely me. But what I will say on this note, too, is that I don't think we would be where we are in craft beer and as a scene without social media. I think the whole reason
bold
why...
statement.
I
think the ground.
The whole reason why we're talking about beers like the Veil and Trillium and Treehouse here in Georgia is largely due to social media. Fair. And there have been several breweries that have come out and said, hey, we wouldn't be where we are without social media. Think about this. Toppling Goliath is a very, very small brewery in Decorah, Iowa, which is literally in the middle of nowhere. You have to fly to, we flew to Minneapolis and then rented a car and drove 2 hours, 2.5 hours down to it. It's literally in the middle of nowhere, and yet everyone has heard of Toppling Goliath and KBBS, which is the #1 ranked beer in the world,
right.
And Pseudo Sue and Morning Delight,
right.
Largely due to social media. So I will say that we are where we are in craft beer as a scene, largely due to social media.
I like opening up bold. Well, back in the day, craft beer fans, especially, and a lot of it was imported, would have to wait until there was a Michael Jackson article posted somewhere. Like it was in a magazine or in a newspaper. He did a lot of, he was a British gentleman who wrote about largely Belgian beers and really started the craft of beer writing and beer media.
Yeah.
So you would have to wait weeks or months until he had, a series of things that he would publish after going on a tour and visiting a lot of breweries in different regions of Europe. So now all you've got to do is open
up Twitter.
And you get it instantly.
Yeah, or Facebook. I mean, most of the craft beer folks I know are part of at least 5 to 10 to 20 different craft beer groups, Facebook groups. Mm-hmm. And, a lot of them are gaining their knowledge about breweries and what beers are good and what beers are not based on that social media. So I'll say that now more than ever, social media plays a huge role in the success of a craft brewery, honestly, because I'll tell you, a lot of breweries have made huge expansions simply based on their growth from social media.
So name drop. Tell the people who to follow and where to follow them.
So I don't actually follow a ton of people, a ton of craft beer people on Twitter. The majority of the craft beer folks that I follow are actually on Instagram.
Our feed does, and both. The Last Beer Show account follows all kinds of people.
Yeah, they do. Mm-hmm.
week.
But I don't use it as much as I'd like to either, and that's what I mean.
Fair. We don't use it enough.
I manage six social media accounts, and I'm on each of those accounts. I manage 4 to 8 platforms for each account, so I don't have a ton of time, extraneous time. But when I do, Instagram is the best because it pops up. It's very visual. I can flip through it easy. I don't like the non-chronological order, which is a giant pain in the butt. But I'll tell you that I follow a lot of really fun people on Instagram, like at Craft Couple, which includes Mark, who's been on our show.
Yeah, he was great.
Yep. Mark, who's been on our show, and Kelly, and I follow Brew Posts, which is out of a guy out of Florida who I've actually shared beers with. I follow Austin Ray, who is a local writer.
Gotta follow
Austin Lewis Ray got his start here in Atlanta, working for Paste Magazine, and has parlayed that into writing about beer now for Creative Loafing, and then he's also one of the editors for Good Beer Hunting and October, the magazine that's funded by, I think it's ZV Ventures, which is Anheuser-Busch's
I would not hesitate to invite people to go to austinlewisray.com and sign up for his newsletter. He doesn't send it regularly, but it's always really great when he sends it.
It's packed with really good stuff. And honestly, I don't think he gets the attention that he deserves for being such a good writer. I think he's very sarcastic, and he's a real good smartass.
He's got a good point of view on it.
But at the same time, he's a really freaking good writer, and a lot of his writings that he does for Good Beer Hunting are really, really well done. And so Austin Lewis Ray is somebody that I follow here locally around craft beer. Right. And then also, I really like the Pace Magazine guys. I don't always agree with them. Jim Varell heads that up.
Yeah.
As some of you know, I've actually been there and judged some of their ranking competitions with Jim, and he's a great guy, really smart guy. He's very passionate about craft beer, but I don't always agree with him. But what I will tell you is that it's always interesting seeing someone else's perspective.
He's always got a good point of view. And,
yeah,
shares a perspective. So I like Ale Sharpton.
Yep,
he's a writer now. He's more local to us, like Austin, but his stuff shouldn't be missed. And then the veteran, the Southern veteran, the
Beer
Southern
Street Journal.
Yeah, Beer Street Journal.
Yeah, Beer Street Journal.
Yeah, you got to follow that.
Yeah, Reed Ramsey, Beer Street Journal. He happens to be, it's really funny because he covers beers that are national, but he happens to live here in Atlanta, so we get to have him in our backyard. But Reed Ramsey of Beer Street Journal does a really good job of covering things as well.
I was going to say that our local veteran writer, Bob Townsend.
Bob Townsend of the Atlanta Journal, yeah.
So
Bob is great.
He does a lot around Bitter Southerner lately, which is great.
He's at every event. I mean, the guy is all over, and he knows his stuff. I think he was a food guy first, and then parlayed that into craft beer. So he's taken a different kind of spin on it. He's not one of these neck beers they call them in craft beer. He's definitely not that. He's
not pretentious at all.
He's definitely he's in it for the actual value of the taste of craft beer, which is refreshing.
Yeah, I like that.
In an atmosphere where neck beers rule, and
we share a mutual close friend.
Yep, we do. Lots of them. Yep.
So Andy Crouch, go to BeerScribe, beerscribe.com.
Yeah, I don't know that one.
Really good writer, good blog. His social media stuff is on point, especially on Twitter. Follow him on Twitter. Excellent Twitter follow. And Carla Jean Lauder out of Portland, Maine.
Yeah, the crafty beer dame.
No, she's Beer Babe.
Beer Babe, yeah.
Her blog is good because she writes for a few different publications, and it's good. It kind of aggregates it.
And I will mention too that she was a part of the rebuttal to good beer hunting around this whole the whole writing, the controversy. She drives
a lot of that. Yeah.
Yep.
She's a great advocate for equality in the industry, and I really applaud her work on that because that can't be easy. She probably gets a ton of garbage thrown her way.
Yep.
And she sticks at it, so I applaud her for that. So I like that. Another one on social, but their YouTube is probably the best stuff that they do, but their blog is solid too, is the Beer Studs. I definitely do not always agree with what they are ornery. but they hate InBev in a way, and they share that in a way far more vocal than anyone else. So it's neat to get that perspective and kind of, they're the extreme of what, say, October's doing, right? They detest a lot of what Good Bear Hunting is working on, and the being politically correct and being careful.
So this is a preview, but I want to let you know that one of the shows that I want to do here in the very near future is I actually want to have those guys on the podcast to talk about a lot of different things. But one of the things that I'd like to
They wouldn't do us.
He totally would do it.
No way they wouldn't do us.
Totally would do it. And one of the things I'd like to talk to him about is, there are a lot of people that kind of question their motives, especially given how connected they are to both Diageo through sponsorship and Anheuser-Busch through ZV Ventures. And so they catch a lot of flack from that, but they also get a lot of flack for a lot of other things.
Right.
And I think that...
And they have a very irreverent tone of voice. I don't think it doesn't resonate with everyone.
They do. But I think that there's a really good conversation to have with Michael Kaiser about just about kind of...
you're talking about Good Beer Hunting.
Good Beer Hunting.
You're not talking about Brew Studs.
Not Brew Studs.
Gotcha.
No, Good Beer Hunting.
I thought you were talking about Brew Studs.
No.
They're irreverent and belligerent about things. No, not Good Beer Hunting.
No.
Good Beer Hunting is very fair.
Yeah. Well...
and
depending on who you ask,
they
are. So I'd like to have Michael Kaiser on and just talk about a lot of the controversy around who they are and what they do and why they do what they do. And
you do that. I don't think Kaiser would do our show.
I think he would do it.
You go for it.
I think he would do it, honestly.
Don't tell him how many people don't listen.
I think he would do it, honestly.
I don't think that's going to go
Plus,
well.
I think it'd be a good conversation to have just because I kind of wondered myself. There have been times where I've noticed that he's very, very pro. He's very, he hates this craft beer label that's on this can, these cans. I don't know if you noticed, but...
what cans? People can't see the cans? You mean...
No.
Oh, he hates the independent upside down thing. Yeah, he mocks that.
He hates that and he mocks it. And he mocks that whole idea of craft brewers looking for a way to differentiate themselves. And, I wonder what his thoughts are.
I mean, you got to do something. I mean, you walk into... I was in a grocery store the other day, and it's the illusion of choice. All these products on the shelf I know they're owned by one of two companies. Right?
You see all these brands, and sometimes you don't know. You see a new brand, and you don't
Golden
know if you
Road.
should go for it or not.
I found myself, I saw a Golden Road beer.
Road next to 10 Barrel, next to...
I thought it was some kind of pineapple beer, and I thought, oh, that looks good. And then out of the corner of my mind, I remember, wait, Golden Road, that sounds very familiar. And then I remembered,
Oakland, right?
Oh, wait, they're owned by Anheuser-Busch now. I think San Diego area.
So anyway, it doesn't matter because they're international now.
Yep.
So, I do like to follow Good Beer Hunting, and their content is well written. It's well executed. The site is gorgeous.
Yep. Some of the beer writing that happens on that page is
the
some of the
new
best.
page that they've put together that has varying opinions, where they kind of have put all the opinions that they think maybe are going to be unpopular into a bucket. And I think that was a really good idea. And I think that that is some of the best reading you're going to find on beer online.
Well, so what they did was they created a way to get their audience more involved in conversations that they were having. So they throw out a topic and they ask the fervent few what they think about it.
Oh, that's the interview one.
Yeah. So the other thing they did a really amazing video on the...
It's called Sightlines. That's a new section of the site.
But they did a really great video on, I think it was the Saison DuPont. The video that they did on the DuPont Brasserie DuPont in Belgium was incredibly well done, and they've done several things like that were really good tools for the beer community.
They're very classy in the way they visually execute on creative, and I think it honors the product and the industry, regardless of who you think they're rooting for.
Yep.
And so I like to keep an eye on it, regardless. So
agreed.
All right. So we mentioned Brew Studs and their cantankerousness. The Craft Beer Maven I'm telling you, she's awesome. And her Instagram feed is a lot of fun. Craft beer maven. I'm telling you.
Is
Instagram.
that the what is?
She's the red hair, right?
It's purple. She lived here in Atlanta. And
She used to. She moved to Texas.
She moved Texas
Louisiana.
or California.
Yeah, maybe.
I think she moved to California.
I know she had like this. She was like driving her 4Runner across country, and she was documenting a bunch of it on Instagram. It was a lot of fun. I was like checking it every day. It was like a vlog almost.
Yeah. Yeah, she's been really active in the beer community for quite a while.
And I like to root for my man over at Uncap Everything.
Oh yeah. Eric Jackson.
Got to stick with Eric, man. You got to support your peeps.
Eric Jackson just got a really sweet job as a director of restaurants with W Hotels here in Atlanta, and but also just is very unjudgmental about craft beer in general.
I think he's a good writer, and
he's very objective.
And I think that there's a lot of opportunity for him to improve and grow in that space. And I'm just, sometimes you pick people and you just root for them.
Yeah, I root for him, and he knows that.
So, ABV Network, the network we're kind of on, right?
Yeah.
So their stuff now, it's a lot more bourbon based.
Yep.
But they've got this ABV Network crew Instagram feed that is a lot of fun. And then also they've got this ABV Network like channel, like the channel feed, the podcast, where it's like different types of shows. So you subscribe to one feed. It's called the ABV Network channel, and you get a bunch of different shows. And you only subscribe to that one feed, kind of like a cable channel.
Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of a neat concept. And a couple of the shows that they have on there are really pretty fun, a little silly, and that's cool. I mean, I love what Steve's doing.
I agree.
Hops Diva, she's been around forever.
She has been around forever.
Hops Diva, she's awesome.
And she lives
in
in
her
Atlanta
Instagram.
as well.
She does? Oh, cool. So, yeah, her stuff on Instagram is really solid. It's a lot of fun to follow. So that's like, I think you got any more writers or people to follow on socials?
Yeah, I just don't really, honestly, I don't really follow a lot of.
Well, you got all the no's.
I follow all the
You work at a
breweries.
brewery, yeah.
I follow the breweries on social, honestly, just to stay connected to what they're doing and what they have going on. And, I follow a lot more local craft beer people personally, so I kind of get my bulk of it.
I got an empty glass.
What do you want to open?
I don't know. Fix it.
Do you want to follow? You want to follow something?
Fruity with Fruity.
Yeah, Fruity with Fruity.
So
it's
follow
back.
the Pineapple Sour with the Creature Comforts Athena Paradiso, which is their German-style tart wheat ale with fruit.
Yep, it's a Berliner Weiss with tart cherry, raspberries, and cranberries, and lactobacillus.
Ooh, everybody's doing the lacto.
So lacto.
Everybody's doing the lactobacillus.
Yeah, they've been doing, Creature Comforts started doing a Berliner Weiss with lactobacillus when they first started as a gateway to sours. They knew that people needed kind of a gateway into sours, didn't want to jump in head first, and so they created a beer called Athena. Athena, which is just basically a Berliner Weiss that has lactobacillus, is kind of like it's a good little Berliner Weiss that's got a little bit of lacto twang to it, but it's not overly sour. So they started doing these fruited versions. This is tart cherry, raspberry, and cranberry. Good. They come out generally once a year, I think. And this is the return of the. Honestly, it's probably their favorite, the perennial favorite of the variations that they've done of this beer, which is the tart cherry, raspberry, and cranberry.
I'll give you a couple of bucks. I want to send one of those my man in Seattle.
Yeah,
it's right up his alley.
It's delicious.
It's so refreshing. We talk about refreshing.
All right,
there's few more refreshing.
On to podcasts. We don't have much more to cover. We talked about writers. We talked about blogs. We talked about social media. Let's talk about podcasts. You said you don't listen to a lot of podcasts. I
don't listen to a lot of podcasts, but I do listen to a couple. I listen to this. It's called The Last Beer Show. Generally comes out once a month or one every 2 months, whenever they feel like it. But I also listen to Beer Guys Radio.
Beer Guys Radio is amazing. I tear through those episodes, every single one of them.
Yeah, I love it just because, they ask a lot of really interesting questions. They talk about a lot of interesting styles. They they keep you up to date with kind of what's going on in craft beer.
Yeah, I think locally, and I think that there's an important distinction here to make. I don't think the show is going to be all that interesting to people in the Midwest or the West Coast or Northeast on a regular basis because it is very local focused. So what I'll say is, I love the show for a lot of reasons, and there's probably a show local to everyone in different regions or different, major municipal areas that they can find that focuses on their local stuff. So that show may not work for everyone. I love it.
Right.
I love it, and I really admire how well it's put together and the work they do there. But it may not work for someone who lives in California or Seattle or Massachusetts or Wisconsin. So go ahead and look for a podcast that's local to you. It might not have dawned on you to look for a localized show.
And one good way of doing that is just posting on your local Facebook, your local craft beer Facebook group.
Like, is there a show in the area?
What's a good local podcast that you guys listen to? Because
the content just seems reachable in a really fresh and applicable way. Like, they're this local brewery. They're talking about a brewery across town, and they're doing something. And I really want to check that out. So yeah, I love those guys and what they're doing. I'm really I admire their work.
Yep.
And the Good Beer Hunting Show. We both had that on the list. They have a few different shows now. The Forever Infused Show, and they've got another interview show that's a little more like NPR style. And every once in a while, I think Michael Kaiser does his show. I don't think it's all that regular, right? They put out a lot of really good content, whether you agree with them or not on certain topics. And I think it's good listening, like a good radio show should be. And you get some things out of it. And on the upside, if a podcast isn't working for you, you can always bail on it, delete it, and wait a week or a month for the next episode. In our case, maybe a little bit longer.
Yeah.
On occasion. Another one that I love, it took most of 2017 off, which was frustrating, but they're back with a vengeance now, is the One Beer, One Song. That show is a lot of fun. And I've found some really great bands that I love from listening to it. I mean, awesome. And they keep it light. It's not usually very long, so it's easy in and out, light listening. They are Atlanta guys, but their content's not really Atlanta focused or regional. Like, I think it works anywhere. The song a couple weeks ago was the theme song to the Greatest American Hero show.
Believe it or not, I'm walking on air.
It just you can harmonize, you can sing it all day, and it feels wonderful in your ear holes. And it fills your heart with joy.
And you get to explain to some millennial about this show that
it's coming back. It's coming back.
This great.
They're bringing the show.
Serious?
They're bringing the show back.
Oh, that's amazing.
It's already in production.
Everything that's old is new again.
All right, Steal This Beer is a lot of fun. It's a couple of really good beer writers and veterans in the space that they try to keep it light, and even though they're like, beer judges, they don't take anything too seriously. It's a really good show. Steal This Beer is solid. It's a lot of fun. Usually they're I think they're on location a lot, like sometimes like background noise. Branding Brews is fun just because I work in marketing and advertising, and Branding Brews talks about the branding of beer and the building of brands.
Why didn't you tell me about this?
This show's really solid. Sometimes it's not going to work for everybody to listen to someone talk about packaging for an hour.
Yeah, but you could talk to me about this.
Sometimes they talk about social media. They talk about strategy. They talk about a lot of things. Branding Brews, I just found this show about 2 months ago, and I gave it a few listens to see if it was going to stick. And I mostly went and got it because Carla Jean Lauder was on it. And I was like, I definitely want to hear her take on packaging and things that happen in packaging, which we've talked about before, that maybe don't resonate with every audience, like things that may feel like there's a racial or a sexual or a sexist bend to it. It doesn't hold it in the most positive light. So when I found out she was going to be on it, I went and downloaded the show, and I've listened to all the episodes since, and it's really good. It's well put together. It's designery and creative, but it's definitely all about the marketing and the beer industry.
Sweet.
Cool stuff, man. So that's my list, man. That's what I got.
Hey, so
I told you to keep it short and light.
Hey, can we talk about one more thing before we go? Since we're talking about promoting other people,
take the stage.
Can
yes,
I
want to share love.
You just mentioned top 3 breweries right now that you're pumped about, that you're excited about drinking from? Because I know I've got several.
I mean, there's always breweries that I'm pumped about. There's some that consistently pump out great work that I can't always get.
Yeah, like, some that have come new to you, and some that you're excited about lately that you maybe aren't ones you've been excited about for years.
Yes, I can. I will tell you about Uni Annie.
Where?
Uni Annie.
I don't know.
Anna Anye, however you pronounce it, is a brewery that just came to Georgia.
Yeah. They're large format bottles.
Yeah, and they do
Framboise.
Yeah, a lot of fairly artisanal styles, and I'm excited to get more of their stuff. Supposedly, there's more blackberry farms coming.
Yeah, I met those guys.
Anything I can get out of those guys.
I met those guys at Shelton Fest, and they were some of the most nicest, genuine people.
I
they
do
talked
not
about why
hesitate.
they started in saisons.
Yeah, I don't hesitate to put money down for those bottles. They are always absolutely amazing.
There's bottles that I feel like are worth the money. Them and Prairie, for me, are those bottles.
I mean, there are other breweries that, maybe their stuff's priced out for regular purchase.
Yep.
Like Cascade's one of them. Jeez, I'd love to drink a lot of Cascade, but I'm going to be honest,
$30
I can't
a bottle.
$36 on a single bottle. I don't know, not all the time. Or a special occasion, there's always a bottle like that around.
Especially when you can get a Rare Barrel bottle for $20. And Rare Barrel is, in my opinion, is just as good at that barrel game as Cascade is.
I mean, there are others. Rodenbach's really great at it. There's some others that do some good work in that space.
Yep.
There's another one locally that I've liked for a long time, but they always seem like they're upping their game. Is the Three Taverns?
Mm-hmm.
They always seem like every time you think that they've done something really great, they're just a month later. There's this release. It's like, oh, they're doing that now. What the? Like, it just seems like they're good at leveling up. Like, clearly there's a vision there that is tracking that. They're not lucking into it. And I like that. That's exciting for me that they're down the street, basically, and that's cool. So, I love Urban Family up in Seattle.
Yep.
A small, tiny little brewery that's doing some really, really great work. And anytime I can get my hands on some Jester King, even though it's trendy to like them, and clearly they've been doing a good job for a little while, but that's good stuff. So, how about you? Share the love, man.
Hudson Valley.
Valley.
If you're not talking about Hudson Valley IPAs yet, you will be. And I'm just telling you now that right now, if you put 3 beers in front of me, a Hudson Valley, a Treehouse, and a Trillium in front of me, I would take the Hudson Valley.
People saying that about Ironmonger a year ago, and they do good work.
Hudson Valley right now, they do sour IPAs.
Line them up.
And they are putting out some of the best IPAs, in the country right now.
Those are happening right now. Those are popping up.
I'm telling you.
And the bread IPAs.
Sour IPAs from Hudson Valley. They make one with almonds, which is really good. They do some really, really cool, amazing stuff.
I'm intrigued.
So Hudson Valley, honestly, I gotta say Monday Night Brewing.
The Garage, that new brewery that
the Garage.
It's called. Technically, it's a different brewery.
It's Monday Night Brewing, but the Garage is where they do all their barrel aging stuff, and they have been putting out beer after beer after beer from that place, and they're tearing up a storm. But honestly, they just keep getting better and better and better with what they're doing. And then the last one would have to be, and you already said it, but Urban Family. They're doing such really cool beers. Their sours are just I think their purple punch sour that they do is just really freaking good.
Yeah.
And so, and again, it's not really a brewery that a lot of people are talking about right now, but given the value of social media, which we talked about, you'll be talking about these beers.
We can get access to them, right? So then I think we should just wrap. We've been at this for a few minutes now. Give the people, an early release. We'll call it Summer Friday. The first Summer Friday drops in March. If you have a question or something you would like us to discuss, drop us an email, sip@lastbeershow.com, or hit us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook at The Last Beer Show. A reminder that we are proud members of the ABV Network. Go to abvnetwork.com to see all the amazing podcasts, or go to your podcast app of choice, search for something like The Last Beer Show, The Firewater Review, The Bourbon Daily, among others. And if you really want to have a good time, go to Instagram and follow the hashtag ABV Network Crew. There's always all kinds of stuff happening on there, and it's a lot of fun. So anyway, thanks for listening. Peace. Oh, wait. One more thing. Please do us a solid and go to iTunes, rate the show. We would be extremely grateful. Thank you very much. Thanks again for listening.